Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can create different views of the same value in a pivot table. For example, in front of me I've got a breakdown of sales by rep and product, and I may want to show this as a percentage of the grand total or a ranking. I don't necessarily have to get rid of the values that I have here. I don't have to replace these values and convert these to percentage of grand total, for example. I don't have to do that. Instead, what I can do is just grab this total sales field and pull it down here again, and now I've got another column that I can work with. And then I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do, a couple of different views that you can display here. The first one, as I showed, was as percentage of grand total. So we could show values as percentage of grand total, and as you might expect, these will all add up to 100%. So you could have one view where you've got your total sales, one that has percentage of grand total, and then we just rename this field by saying percent of grand total, or whatever you want to call it. And now we've got another view. We could also add another item to show something else. We could show the values as ranking from, let's say, largest to smallest. And we're going to go by product because we've got product sales here. And so you can see, so ranking number 1 here is this amount for 14,600. Number 10 is this amount for 278. So you notice it resets with every category. So here we've got a breakdown by rep B, and that again has a ranking of 1 to 10. Rep C has its own ranking of 1 to 10. So depending on how your pivot table is structured, these breakdowns may look a little different. Another thing you may want to do is show the values as running totals. So let's say again, running totals product. And now this would be the same as if I were to highlight all these values here. They add up to a sum of 40,624, which is this value here. And again, it resets again once I get to the next section, to the next rep. So you can have your running total. Now, if you wanted to show the values as, let's say, a percent running total, this can be a little bit not really useful, I'll say, because this percentage looks at the total of the grand total. Right, so it's not running down all the way to the bottom and showing a percentage of the total. So some of these metrics don't work maybe the way you might expect them to. So I'd suggest just playing around with the different options here, just because some of them work well, like the running total value, but the running total percentage isn't terribly useful unless you don't have any of a breakdown here and you've got just one category going straight through. Another thing you may want to do is show values as a difference from, let's say, the previous value. So if I hit OK here, now we've got 3,065, and this represents the difference between this 1690 and this 4755. So you can sort of keep track of what the difference was from the previous value. So the difference from the previous can be useful. So I'm going to remove some of these, remove that one, and I'm going to change this grand total to show a different sort of breakdown, a percentage by the row total. So show values as a percentage of the row total. Now this one isn't useful in this setup because right now I've only got one item on this row, this 14,600, 69. These are all the same. So if I structured this a little bit different, then my view becomes a lot more useful. So let's say if I were to move my product over top of my values here, now I've got a breakdown that goes horizontally. And now this percentage is a lot more useful. Now if I select all these percentages for this one row, they're going to add up to 100%. And so there I've got 100% of the values, and now my percentage of the row is a lot more useful in this setup versus when I had it going like this, where everything's only gonna have one item on here. So it's not gonna be as useful to use that metric. That's why what you may want to do is like I said, experiment out with these different views to see which one makes sense based on your layout. In some cases, you may want to use a summarize the value as a percentage of the column total, which in this case is going to be the same situation for me as the percentage grand total, because it comes out to the same thing. Because I've only got one column here. It's one stretch of values here that it's just going to add up to 100%. So depending on how you've got your pivot table, some of these metrics may be more useful than others. But the main takeaway from this is that, if you've only got, if you've got sales and you're thinking you have to do some formula to calculate the percentage of totals, you don't have to. With the pivot table, you've got the flexibility to reuse this field over and over again, adding it multiple times, however many times you want, and showing different views, whether it's a percentage of the grand total, whether it's a ranking, whatever the case may be. You've got a lot of flexibility within a pivot table to show different views of the same item.